rep your third favourite trail and ultramarathon podcast while keeping cool and breezy in a DCR technical trucker hat, pleasing Woodland Vista, and one size fits most. Out now for $59.99 plus postage and packaging with a discount for DCR Aid Station paid subscribers. You'll find the code in the newsletter available from the Dirt Church Radio website, www.dirtchurchradio.com.
It actually looks pretty good.
Yeah, it does look pretty good. It looks very good, actually.
It does.
I'm stoked with it. And they're flying out the door, and lots and lots of people.
Limited supply.
Limited supply. And the people who've bought them love them, so get your mitts on one.
And they're off. Here we go.
Welcome to Dirt Church Radio, Aid Station number 20. I'm Matt Raymond.
And I'm Eugene Bingham. Tēnā koutou katoa. Sorry about that big sound. How you doing, Matt Raymond?
Yeah, not bad. Just ticking along. Possibly a little bit food poisoned, and perhaps a useful analogue to what it might be like to run part of 100 miles not feeling the best gastrointestinally. So,
so was it a deliberate test?
Yeah, that's right. I drank some water out of the septic system, and then I went for a run. No, one of those things, and but no major disasters. But don't feel the best. But you know, there we
I hear
go.
there's an update to the mistakes we've made.
Yes,
with running episode coming up. Anyway.
It goes something like further, faster, there in Christchurch. Rocky is hairy and so is Badger. Jules is nice and Jacob is delicious. Go to further, faster now.
Oh, further, faster, there in Christchurch. Rocky is hairy and so is Badger. Jules is nice and Jacob is delicious.
Go to further, faster now.
Church Radio.
Aside from that, all good?
Aside from that, all good, ticking along. Going to Crater Rim this week, which I'm super excited about. Not to run, to crew Rebecca.
Yeah.
She's lining up for the 50K, so super excited to get down to Otutahi, see our friends, and experience what is, a fantastic grassroots event. So really, really looking forward to that.
So that's been a race that's been on our cards for a while, and we haven't sort of made it down there. So, it looks amazing. There's that. Is it the Ultra where you get the ride across?
Yeah, so it
the
starts
harbour
in Littleton. Forgive my geography, but it starts across the harbour. Yeah, and it looks amazing. It really does.
And what distance is Rebs running?
50.
50. Yep. And have you got your crew instructions?
Not yet, but I'm sure that they will be shouted at me during the race. No, she's pretty chill is Rebecca, and
having watched her absolutely nail Tarawera, back in February.
Yeah,
that was the 50, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was.
Yeah. So I'm sure she'll nail this one as well.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, she did. Full disclosure, when we went out onto 6 foot track when we were in Australia, she did take a tumble and she's twisted her ankle, so she hasn't had the build up that she wanted. However, she was running so strong and just crushing her long runs, and is 4 times as mentally tough as probably anyone I know.
Yeah, absolutely. The strength of mind is phenomenal. So
she'll be fine.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Good luck to you, Matt Raymond.
And yourself, sir.
Yeah, I'm good. I have begun a return to running program, which is slowly catching monkey. So I'm at the moment most importantly, still doing all my strength work, and that's got to remain the number one thing. But then a couple of times a week, getting out for the old 1 minute on, 1 minute off. So doing a walk warm up, then 1 minute of running followed by 1 minute of walking, 1 minute of running, 1 minute of walking. I'm up to 7 times 1.
That's amazing. I mean, that must suck for you because the urge is to say, that's so amazing, Eugene, yay. And you'd be like, I'm living in hell. I don't feel very fit. This sucks. And you need your injured runner flag.
Are you reading my text back to you?
Yeah,
that was our exchange on Saturday. Was like, you went, yay. And I was like, no, I feel unfit, slobby.
Yeah.
I hate it. But yeah, I didn't do it in that voice because it was a text. But anyway.
Yeah.
Yes, no, that's how I'm feeling. But it's, you know, hey, you got to trust the process, and that's what I'm doing. So yes, on I go. Ironically, it's not my ankle that's giving me any, or my heel that's giving me any grief at the moment. It's that dodgy knee. Remember I got a dodgy knee a few months ago? Well, it's come back. And I'm like, what? No, not now. Not now, mate. Go away. So anyway, so I'm doing a bit of strength work on that as well. So fingers crossed. But yeah, the idea is to find where my limit is. It's not going to be where I was, but it's just finding where it will be, and then figuring out if I'm happy with that. If I'm not, I can still go back down the surgery route. So we'll see. Yeah.
And I guess with that, you know, you've had a very, very challenging year. You'd say life-changing in lots of ways, and there's some changes coming up. So do you want to talk about that?
Yeah. So I have been struggling with this not running thing. It has been messing with my head a little bit, but also keeping it in context, you know, far out. I'm still walking around and breathing. So, you know, I've got to keep it in context. But it's been challenging. And, you know, work has been challenging as well. I changed jobs. I left my job at the end of last year and I've been freelancing. So there's been a few stresses around that. And so, what was it, around July? We had the convo, wasn't it? Or even before that, because it was before Woo 2K. Matt and I sat down and had a chat. And
no, it wasn't. It was after Woo 2K.
Was it? Okay. All right. Time flies. And I had a chat with Matt about the future of Dirt Church Radio and sort of expressed that I was going to step away. And we sort of came up with a plan to transition around that. The time is approaching. So from the end of October, I'm going to step away from the mic. I will still be Dirt Church Radio's number one fan. Sorry about that. Who's the previous number one fan? Sorry, I'm knocking you off the perch. And yeah, your good self, Matt, you're going to take over full charge.
Yeah, I am. And that's not without its, you know, not to kind of, there's no dirty laundry to air, but obviously you can absolutely understand why someone's doing something. You can absolutely agree with why someone does something. You can support someone 100% why they do something. You don't have to like it though. And it's been a little bit of a challenge for me to get my head around initially. And being very honest, I was like, well, that's us. We're done. Because, you know, there's that part of me. And it was ironically, I think, when we went away with the Fireys climb, that I was just really kind of inspired to keep going because, you know, Dirt Church Radio does have a place, very big place in my life. It has a very big place in lots of people's lives, I think, as well.
That's right. Well, it's been 6 years, and by the time I hang up the mic from my end, it'll be 300 episodes. So it's well and truly embedded itself into the trail running community, certainly of Aotearoa, but actually beyond that, especially when you look at the you know, where our listeners are, you know, Bird Crew in Australia, but also all around the world, and we get messages from all around the world, and we can see people listening all around the world. So it's absolutely an intrinsic part of trail running here and abroad, and that's why I'm stoked that you're carrying on. But for me, it's just it's time. You know, sometimes you know, don't you, that you've just got to make that call. And and I'm as I said to Matt at one point, you know, I'm heartbroken about this. It's hard for me. You know, this was our baby. But I just had to make some calls around what was good for me. And I won't dress this up, but it's been hard doing a trail running podcast when I couldn't run and talking to people about, wow, that's cool, that's an awesome run. You know, a few episodes back we talked about me getting off Strava because it was just a bit hard for me. And in a way, it's the same with DCR. And I know that, I will be back running at some stage. And as I talked about, I'm doing that return to running program. But right now where I am, I just needed to make that call. So I hope everyone understands. I'm sorry to probably disappoint some people, probably make some people cheer. And,
don't be a dickhead.
I can think of one.
Well, yes, absolutely.
So
speaking
anyway.
of, brand new co-host on Dirt Church Radio.
That's right.
It's going to be the odd couple.
You know who you are. Anyway, so yes, cut a fewer to you, Matt, and as I said, I will be Dirt Church Radio's #1 fan. But kind of connected to that is that the live show that we've got coming up that we've been talking about. You and I have just sort of secretly known that will actually be my last show.
Yeah.
And I told Vicky yesterday, she was a bit like, what? So, I mean, please get along to that because it will be kind of like, not that this is...
It's a victory lap. I've wanted to send us out on a victory lap for a while. And I'll shuffle out the back here.
Yeah. So October 29... which is a Tuesday after Labour Weekend, 7:00 at the Small Gods Tap Room in Mount Eden. We're doing a live show. We've loved doing the live shows, and I've that's been one of my favourite bits. Is doing live shows over the years. I remember when we did our first one, and I was absolutely crapping myself, and thinking no one is going to turn up, and then being blown away by it, and it was fun, and it's been fun ever since. So this is going to be my last one anyway, our last one together. And we're going to be joined by Inia Raumati, who is 6 races deep into his attempt to run 8 self-supported multi-day races. So on 8 continents this year. Of course, all funds go to Kia Mau Kia Ora. There's going to be a bunch of spot prizes. And if you can't get along in person, there's a special access YouTube link brought to you by Runners with Beards. So come along. And,
come party with us. It's going to be a lot of fun. And that's the thing. I am very much... I'm the same. I'm very much looking forward to hanging out with you, Eugene, and celebrating this and actually having a damn good time because they're super fun. Yeah. And on that, we will talk about what's going to happen for Dirt Church Radio. There are going to be some changes and lots of things are going to stay the same. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to go into that right now because, we're still kind of working through the backroom stuff, but I am, like you said, I personally am crapping myself a little bit just with the very reasonable sort of anxiety around it. But also, very, very excited to take this forward and continue to, continue to highlight the sport and this community and these people that we know and that we love and that, we sort of serve. So,
awesome. So, details to follow. Watch this space. Okay, look, let's chat about something else, eh? Let's talk about. I was getting the Stoke, well, my part of the Stoke ready for which as Aid Station readers will know, and the Aid Station newsletter is the part where we bring you kind of interesting stuff from across the interwebs. And I saw that Steve Magnus has got a new book out about mental resilience and pushing through when giving up is the easiest option. Now, Steve Magnus is extraordinary. I don't know how to begin to explain him, but he's a coach, he's a whistleblower, he's an author, he's got a podcast, there you go. He wrote Do Hard Things. And this one he's written is called The Inside Game. And it's about how to build mental resilience, how to, how to not choke, how to, get home when it's just easier to tap out. So it got me thinking, and we won't go through the book itself, but it got me thinking about tactics that I've used over the years to push through on tough runs. And I thought we could talk about some of those. So Matt, what are some of the strategies that you use?
It's a really good question. I just want to rewind a little bit. Everyone should go and listen to Steve Magnus's podcast with Rich Roll, where he talks about his working under Alberto Salazar.
Oh, look.
What a dick.
Well, have a look at the original where he came out on BBC Panorama.
Yeah.
And that was where he outed himself as a whistleblower.
Yeah.
And you could see the fortitude of the guy there. You're like, he was still working for Nike
Absolutely.
at that stage. And he stepped out and went, this is wrong.
Yeah.
What is going on here is wrong. And it was courageous, phenomenal. I mean, if the mental strength alone to do that, to step
100%.
out and say what's happening to our athletes is wrong. And Salazar ended up losing a decorated career because of it. So, absolutely. Read as much as you can, watch as much as you can about this guy Magnus, and then you will know that what he's writing is worth reading.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I've been thinking a lot about this. It's funny, isn't it, how this, not to bring this back to Rebecca, but she does, she's an occupational therapist, and she's on the craft. There's that sort of thing. Have you ever heard that sort of pejorative thing? You refer to OTs as basket weavers. Have you ever heard that?
No.
Yeah. It's kind of a nurse OT thing. You go, you bloody basket weaver.
Right. What do they call nurses?
Just nurses. It's the only polite thing you can kind of say, really. But she's super crafty, and she does a whole lot of she does scrapbooking and all sorts of stuff. And we've been going back through a lot of the photos around lockdown and stuff like that, sort of, and all the runs that we were doing together in 2020 with this big group of, men and women. We go out in the forest and we were running and training for Kepler, and you were training for Tarawera and all that sort of stuff. And just how the strategies change over time. So even thinking about the strategies then versus the strategies now and how they change. But for me, and I know the counting one is a really interesting one. I went through a big period where I think it was 262 days straight of guided meditation, because I went through a period where I felt like I was losing my mind, actually. And so I did this guided meditation, and I took off, and I really got into counting my breath. So that's something that I use. So, in and out to number 10. What else do I use? Running today, and this is not, let's talk about the impact that your injuries had on me, actually, Eugene, having to do my long runs by myself. What about me, actually? Having to do my long runs by myself is really, really hard sometimes when you do these long runs. Having company during events, I think, is really, really useful. Like being able to actually talk to someone really takes your mind off things. And I remember when I got hurt at U2K, running that back half with Sean McWilliams, absolute legend, incidentally sent me a Mankey, a Mankey, which I'm super stoked about. Having company just to take your mind off things, like you can just chat and distract yourself and get into that sort of problem shared as a problem halved, I guess. A big thing that I think about is, for me, and honestly, the number one thing that sort of helps get me through tough races is this isn't even remotely as tough as what I do on a day-to-day basis. So with my professional life, that's a big thing. And I'm not saying I'm the man or anything, but I always reflect, as challenging as this is something that I absolutely choose to do, and it's something that makes me feel better, and it's something that I actually get the privilege to do. Those are some things that really help with, that kind of reflection. And also really kind of keeping my world really small. So if I can keep engaged in what I'm doing, if my mind starts to wander and get all problematic and think about things, or if I'm thinking about work, I'm thinking about something else, that's when I kind of tend to start to feel either sorry for myself or feel, like I was talking to you today about my run. I've got a little bit of food poisoning or whatever it is going on, fighting a virus or something, and I went out on my run and I just wasn't feeling the best. And I got to the bottom of Burma Hill, and I was probably at about maybe 26k in, down the bottom of Burma, and I was feeling quite dizzy. Now I've got two choices there. I can kind of focus on the fact that I'm feeling dizzy and why am I feeling dizzy, or I can do what I know will help address it. So drink some water, just and then just kind of know that I've got a hike. So choose to hike the hill get through, keep my world real small, and that's me really. Just it's not a huge amount of things that I do, but it's mainly that focusing on privilege and keeping my world real small is helpful. What about you?
Well, you mentioned two of the things that I had on my list. So the counting. So I remember hearing about Paula Radcliffe years ago, the amazing Great Britain marathon runner who has a mind made of steel. She had a technique of counting to 100. So she just work her way through to, so not even counting her breaths, but just counting off to 100 and then starting again as a technique. And I've tried it before, and it works for me sometimes. And this is the thing with these things: some of them will work some of the time, some of them won't work. None of them are going to work all the time. Some of them will work some of the time. So it's a matter of building up your toolkit. And so, one of them that I threw in my toolbox and I've used lots of times, I can think of, for instance, going up the hills around the back, during Tarawera, and you're sort of in a climb and you're kind of like, oh, when's this going to end? And just to get in the moment, I just start counting to, 1, 2, just simple as that. Up to 100, start again. Up to 100, start again. Just to kind of like take me out of the pain. The distraction, as you mentioned, that I sort of broke that down into two things. So, talking to other people around you just makes the miles fly by, doesn't it? It's a well-known technique. It really works. Sometimes it works too well, and you end up running too fast. So that's a good one. And it's just, even if you're not talking about what if you are suffering, you probably don't want to be talking about what you're suffering about. You want to be talking about other stuff. And so that's always a good thing. But the other one I use in terms of distraction is having some headphones with me, chucking them in, listening to an amazing trail running podcast, or some music. And again, that can be different. Some days the music that I want to listen to when I run is not, the next day is like, what the hell? I don't want to listen to that. So it's again having a menu, or I'm mixing my metaphors here, but a bunch of tools that go in your toolbox. And so, and even in terms of what you're going to listen to, so maybe if you're going to go out somewhere remote and you think you might be wanting to put your headphones in, maybe download some music, a variety of music, or a favorite playlist, but also, some podcasts. People use audiobooks, don't they? But they're just all things that can just distract you when the going is getting tough. The other thing I do, and it's kind of like that whole centering thing, and this was something I heard Nick Willis talk about, was finger to thumb. So when you're running along, and this also helps keep your hands in a good position, if you just hold your thumb to your forefinger and form a circle lightly, you're not jamming them together, you're just lightly touching them. And then as you're running along, you're just focusing on that. And so you've got your arms moving, and you've got your thumb and your forefinger just touching, and just sort of concentrating on doing that. And it can distract you. So I've had, for instance, I've got the stitch, or I've got, a sore knee or something that's just annoying. And so for a moment, I'll just be like, okay, I'll just focus on this. So finger and thumb together, just running along, swinging my arms, normally, not stupidly. And just focusing on that forefinger and thumb touching together, forming that circle, feeling the wind go through the circle, if you like, feeling the skin touching each other. So it's quite a mindful thing. But when I first started doing it, I didn't know of it as mindfulness, but that's exactly what it is. It's just
5 senses thinking, yeah.
Yeah, it's just focusing on that small sensation in both your hands and feeling that the breeze go through, and just focusing on that. And yeah, it's amazing. It's just just like a Panadol or something. It's like it will get rid of things. Or sometimes if that's not working for me, I just go through this sounds a little bit OCD or something, but just touching my thumb to each of my fingers. So just a pattern, dum, 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 and just slowly, just on one hand, going from left to right or right to left, whichever you prefer, but just touching them off, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, which is kind of like counting as well. But it's just, I find, because I'm engaging with a part of my body that I'm using for running, it really helps me. It's different to counting, although you can think of it as just 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's more about the sensation. And I've heard people do it with like their feet, just really trying to feel their footfall, because you often don't think of it, do you? You're just running and you're not thinking about your body engaging with the ground. But if you just really concentrate on, or just really not concentrate, but even just try to feel it, just feel your foot hitting the ground and moving, and just feeling that movement, not in a kind of like I need to improve this or whatever, but just to be in that moment and just feel that sensation of you moving through the atmosphere, because that's it's a miracle, really.
Yeah, it is a miracle. It's a beautiful thing. One of the things that I was just, as you were thinking and thinking about the counting, and this I learned this from a Trail Runner Nation years ago, 10 years ago. The 50-50 thing, when you say you get to a hill and you might want to pace yourself and not perhaps run up it, or it's too steep or it's tired. Walk 50 steps with counting each footfall. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to 50, and then run 50, but only count one footfall. So you end up running twice as long as you're walking, and then repeat that process. And it's a really cool way. It breaks the distraction. It's counting. And it means that you chop it up.
You're sort of tricking yourself.
Yeah.
Gary Rickdean used to, and Sean Cooper passed this on to me as well. It's like he would have a kind of a non-negotiable rule of always running over the top of a hill. So he'd walk up, but he'd always be running before he got to the top of the hill, so that when he came over the side, he had that momentum, and it just kind of gives you that sensation of that beauty of running, that you're running over the top. You're not getting to the top and you're walking and you're kind of, oh God, and then you've got to start running again. You've already gone through that when you're suffering anyway, because you're going up a hill. And then, so yeah, just run the top, and then you're into it. And it's just that, I guess just, it's something I've kind of been aware of, thinking about, not running. It's just that flow, that beautiful feeling. And, I've talked about it before with, that first downhill run that we did after lockdowns. Just that amazing sensation of running down a forestry trail. It was actually one of the gravel roads, wasn't it? But running down a hill was I experienced it like I'd never felt it before, and it was amazing. Just I guess that's it's sort of different to what we're talking about here, sort of mental strategies. But I guess just encourage you to just appreciate those sensations of running and feel them and enjoy them, and then you can draw on them when it is hard, or when you are, maybe you like Enya and you're trudging through the desert or something and it's not fun. And it's just, your shoes are filling up with sand or whatever. But you can kind of take yourself off to this other place of feeling like you're running down a beautiful buttery single track or something. It's just that, I guess that's sort of visualization really, isn't it? Would you be a black t-shirt or the blue t-shirt for Squad Run, Matt?
I think that you know that question before you even asked it.
Black and blue. So those are our mates our mates at Squad Run. They've been coming on the show since a long, long time ago. You hear them regularly giving some incredible advice. You can avail yourself of that advice yourself if you sign up as a member of Squad Run and get some coaching from them. You can actually get yourself a 4-week special trial at the moment. If you check out the link on our website, which is www.dirtchurchradio.com, you'll find a special link for a 4-week special deal that the good folks at Squad Run have put together. Kerry and Ali, they're also sponsoring Greatest Run Ever. So thanks, Squad Run.
Thanks. Yep, absolutely. Visualization works, and certainly in training, visualizing what you're going to do. That's really a big thing for me is how am I going to feel running? Asking those questions of yourself. How am I going to feel running through the night? How am I going to feel, when my legs get very sore or my core gets very sore? What am I going to do? What will help? And sort of being a little bit detached from that. It's part of the fun of it, isn't it? That you kind of, I'm thinking about, what I've got ahead. One of the most enjoyable parts, and you could consider this part of a why or aligning to my values, is working out the puzzle.
Yeah.
What does that puzzle look like? What am I thinking is going to be super challenging? What do I need to work on? What do I need to think about? What do I need to, all of those things. And it's so interesting, isn't it? And you're so right. Like what works once might not work again. It might not work, every single time. Sometimes it can be super annoying, and you just have to sort of sit in the moment. And those moments are really hard.
Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes, and I've talked about this before on DCR, but like I remember 2013, and I'd had a strategy of I'd had a plan of, I'd saved up a couple of podcast episodes that I was going to listen to going up Western Okataina. And so my plan was to chuck my headphones in and just get uphill thinking about this. Or not thinking about the hill, instead just being distracted by my podcast. And then got there, put my headphones in. 2013 was extremely wet. It was pouring down. The trail was an absolute mess. It was carnage. I wasn't feeling great. And I realized that actually I needed all my senses to be able to navigate this hill in a timely manner, or at least a manner approaching timeliness. So I just yanked the headphones out of my head because they weren't working that day, and it was not the strategy that I needed. So you have to have a toolbox, and that's the thing. You've got to use these things in training. So try all these things in training. So I remember, running along Dombuck Road of all places, practicing that counting thing, feeling a little bit weird, like being glad no one could hear what was going on inside my head, as if I was preparing for something momentous running along Dombuck's Road. So yeah, but it's important to practice these things. And so, for you, Matt, doing all that training on your own at the moment, it's an opportunity to try all these different things and to get into that moment, because there will be hours and hours probably at Tarawera where you are running on your own. And
absolutely.
If you've done all your training with someone else, you're not going to be equipped for that, and that's a danger for lots of people. Is, we tend to, people talk about the loneliness of the long distance runner. Well, that's absolute crap, because we know that lots of people do significant amounts of their training, or certainly their long training, with other people, and then come race day, you find yourself, hours upon hours on end, virtually on your own, and you can't handle it. So, try those different things. Try them in training to just give yourself different tools that you can call upon on the day to get yourself through those tough periods. And maybe do go and get yourself The Inside Game, or other books by Steve Magnus. I read one years ago by an Australian. It wasn't Steve Monaghetti, but it was one of that era, and it was all about how he developed a tough mindset and stuff. And it was not so much about during races, it was around training really, and sort of like the non-negotiables that he set himself, and just that, that, for instance, if he was going for a run if he was getting up for a run in the morning, he was getting up for a run in the morning. It didn't matter if he had a shit sleep. It didn't matter if he, didn't feel like it or whatever. He was going for a run. And so just setting those non-negotiables for himself just gave him that drive to be able to train as hard as he did and produce such memorable nuggets that I can't even remember whose nuggets they were.
It's just one. I mean, it's so funny with the music thing. You have to be so careful with that. Like and for me, like just at the Fire East climb, the last lap I did, I was like, right, I'm gonna do a hot lap. Yeah. So I'm gonna get down the bottom as fast as I can and get back up as fast as I can. Had my headphones on. Out Come the Wolves by Rancid, one of my favorite albums. Had it on, off I went, took off. I do like running downhill. And I got to one of the first ladders and my foot slipped on the ladder.
Yeah.
My heel, and I went far out. That's what I said, far out. I'm going to die if I don't have all my sensors. So hit it, turned it off.
Yeah.
And got down to the bottom. And then when it came time to just, suffering your guts up the hill, it went back on because it was easier to do. But
yes,
it can definitely, sometimes you need all your senses.
Yeah, totally.
On what you're going to do.
Totally. And that's
I just get shivers thinking about that, actually.
Yeah. No, you wouldn't want to come a cropper coming down there. Yeah, absolutely. I've been, as I come back into, slowly into running, I've been really thinking about my running technique and been doing a bit of reading and stuff and listening to some good advice from some good people about adjusting my running technique, because the rationale goes that if you haven't been running for a while, it's a good time to review your technique, because you can't really do it while you're in a heavy training block.
No.
Because it's just too hard and your body is undergoing stress already, and it would probably just, be like, trying to change the tyres when you're in the middle of an F1 race or something. I was trying to insert an F1 reference there for Kerry. And Andrew. Since I haven't been running, it's like, right, okay, how can I think about how I run? And so I'm trying a few things. And one of them is around my cadence. So trying to get my cadence up. And so I've been listening to playlists with the right RPM on them. So that and that in a way is a distraction or a technique that I'm using to try and keep myself focused and trying to keep that tempo up of the footfall. Yep. Music can be really, really helpful, can't it? But it can also be a distraction that you don't need. So,
Beautiful.
All right.
Well, gang, let us know your top tips for when it gets hard, when it gets lonely, when it gets annoying, and write in. Let us know. Come party with us.
Yeah, please do.
It's the 29th of October, so it's Tuesday, 7 p.m, Small Gods Tap Room, Mount Eden, Eugene's final show. And
our 300th show.
Our 300th show, Eugene's final show. We'd love to see you there, and all for a very good cause as well. But that's it from us, and thank you to our DCR Aid Station crew, which is you lot, and stay tuned for our regular DCR podcast next week when we have another amazing guest lined up for an incredible chat.
Hey, Kwana. Thanks, Rigby. If you want to get the DCR hit that you love ad-free and get it every single Wednesday, there's a way to do that. Sign up to become a member of the DCR Aid Station crew, $8 a month or $80 a year. Paid subscribers get full access to the newsletter featuring recommendations, reviews, and the special sauce. Special sauce is quite cool, isn't it, Matt?
Maybe I've been drinking from the special sauce bottle a bit much lately, but really enjoy putting together the content, really love bringing it out to the people, and the people really love it too. So yeah, get involved, support Dirt Church Radio. We've been cracking on for 6 years now, and we really love bringing this to you. So help us help you to help us help you, helping us.
You can find a link on the website, which is www.dirtchurchradio.com.